Life is unpredictable. You will face challenges, setbacks, and hardships, but the strength of your mind determines whether you break or endure. The Stoics understood this well. They lived by simple yet powerful principles that forged resilience in the face of adversity. Today, I share with you 5 daily Stoic practices to build an unbreakable mindset. The foundation of a resilient mind begins with understanding what is within our control and what is not. This principle, known as the dichotomy of control, is one of the most powerful ideas in Stoic philosophy. It teaches that the key to inner peace and unshakable strength is the ability to focus solely on what we can influence, while letting go of everything beyond our reach. This simple yet profound distinction can change how we approach life, challenges, and even our own emotions. Many people waste immense amounts of energy worrying about things they have no control over. Other people's opinions, the economy, the weather, or unexpected hardships. This constant preoccupation with the uncontrollable leads to frustration, stress, and a sense of helplessness. The Stoics, however, understood that true power comes from directing our attention inward. Instead of being slaves to external events, they sought mastery over their own thoughts, actions, and responses. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This simple truth serves as a guiding principle. When we focus on our own perceptions and actions, we reclaim our power. When we obsess over external outcomes, we surrender it. Imagine a storm at sea. No sailor can control the wind or the waves, but he can adjust his sails. Life operates in the same way. One practical way to apply this principle is to pause and reflect whenever stress or frustration arises. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is no, then worrying or complaining will achieve nothing. Instead, direct your focus to what you can do in response. If you lose your job, you cannot change the past, but you can improve your skills, seek new opportunities, and maintain a strong mindset. If someone disrespects you, you cannot control their behavior, but you can control your reaction, choosing to remain calm and composed instead of being provoked. This practice also extends to our emotions. Many people believe their emotions are outside their control, but this is not entirely true. While we may not control the initial feeling that arises, we do control how we respond to it. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most of our distress comes not from events themselves, but from the meaning we attach to them. When we learn to separate what happens from how we interpret it, we gain emotional mastery. For example, imagine being stuck in traffic. Most people get angry, curse the delay, and feel frustrated, but does getting upset change anything? The traffic remains the same. The only thing within our control is our mindset. A Stoic would see this as an opportunity for patience, for reflection, for listening to an audiobook, or simply practicing gratitude for having a car in the first place. The external situation does not dictate our emotions, we do. Another critical aspect of this principle is accepting fate. The Stoics called this Amor, Fati, the love of fate. Life is full of uncertainties, and no one escapes hardship, but when we understand that we cannot control external events, we learn to accept them with grace. A loved one falls ill, a business fails, or an opportunity is lost. These things are not always within our power. But what is within our power is how we choose to face them. With bitterness and resistance, or with courage and wisdom. By mastering the dichotomy of control, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. Instead of being tossed around by life's uncertainties, we become steady, like a rock in the storm. We stop wasting energy on things we cannot change and invest it into becoming stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The world will always be unpredictable, but our response to it is entirely in our hands. This is where true strength lies. Comfort is a double-edged sword. While it provides temporary pleasure, too much of it weakens the mind and spirit. The Stoics understood this well and practiced voluntary discomfort to build resilience, discipline, and mental toughness. They believed that by deliberately exposing themselves to hardships, they could prepare for the inevitable difficulties of life, ensuring that no challenge could ever break them. Seneca, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, advised practicing poverty even when one was wealthy. He would set aside a few days each month to live with the bare minimum, eating simple food, wearing rough clothing, and sleeping on the ground. This was not done out of necessity but out of training. His goal was to remind himself that he could survive with less, that luxury was not essential to happiness, and that hardship was not to be feared. By willingly experiencing discomfort, he stripped it of its power over him. This practice can be applied in modern life in many ways. Skipping a meal, taking cold showers, walking instead of driving, or sleeping on the floor for a night are all ways to embrace discomfort. These acts may seem small, but they serve a powerful purpose. When you voluntarily step outside your comfort zone, you train your mind to endure hardship without panic or distress. You prove to yourself that you are stronger than your cravings, your laziness, or your fears. The greatest benefit of practicing voluntary discomfort is that it prepares you for real adversity. Life is unpredictable. Loss, failure, and hardship will come whether you are ready or not. But if you have already faced discomfort by choice, then when difficulty arrives uninvited, you will not be caught off guard. You will already know that you can endure hunger, fatigue, rejection, or struggle because you have trained for it. Beyond resilience, this practice also deepens gratitude. When you intentionally deprive yourself of something you take for granted, you develop a newfound appreciation for it. A warm bed feels more comfortable after sleeping on the floor. A hot meal tastes richer after a day of fasting. The mind, once exposed to scarcity, learns to cherish abundance. By embracing discomfort daily, you build an unbreakable mindset. You become less dependent on luxury, more adaptable. Negative visualization is one of the most powerful Stoic practices for building mental resilience. It involves imagining the loss of things we cherish, anticipating worst-case scenarios, and contemplating hardships before they happen. While this may seem pessimistic, its purpose is not to create anxiety but to prepare the mind for adversity and deepen appreciation for what we have. The Stoics believed that suffering often comes not from events themselves, but from our unpreparedness for them. Life is unpredictable. People get sick, accidents happen, and fortunes change overnight. Yet most people live as if everything will remain the same forever, only to be devastated when misfortune strikes. By regularly visualizing loss and hardship, we train our minds to accept the reality that nothing is permanent. When difficulties do arise, we are not caught off guard, but meet them with calm and composure. Marcus Aurelius, in Meditations, wrote, "Begin each day by telling yourself, 'Today I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness.'" By anticipating obstacles, he was not making himself miserable, but ensuring that when these challenges came, he would not react with shock or despair. He was ready. This practice can be applied in everyday life in simple yet profound ways. Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that you have lost your job, your home, or a loved one. Visualize the emotions you would feel, the struggle you would endure. Then, return to the present moment and realize that these things are still with you. This contrast immediately cultivates gratitude. The coffee you drink, the roof over your head, the people in your life, none of these are guaranteed, yet you have them today. This realization turns ordinary moments into gifts. Negative visualization is not about obsessing over disaster. It is about strengthening the mind. Athletes train their bodies to handle extreme conditions. Stoics train their minds to handle adversity. By mentally rehearsing worst-case scenarios, we become desensitized to fear. If we have already imagined losing something, we are less likely to crumble if it actually happens. Instead of being paralyzed by loss, we respond with wisdom and strength. This practice also diminishes attachment. When we recognize that everything is temporary, we stop clinging to material possessions and external circumstances for happiness. We learn to appreciate life without being enslaved by it. True freedom comes from accepting that nothing lasts forever, and choosing to live with courage despite that truth. Journaling is one of the most effective tools for self-mastery, a practice that was deeply valued by the Stoics. It is more than just writing down thoughts. It is a method of self-examination, discipline, and personal growth. Through daily reflection, we gain clarity over our emotions, improve our decision-making, and strengthen our ability to respond to life's challenges with wisdom. One of the greatest examples of this practice comes from Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher. His book Meditations was essentially a private journal where he reflected on his actions, thoughts, and the principles he aspired to live by. He did not write for an audience. He wrote to himself, to remind himself of the kind of man he wanted to be. This is the essence of Stoic journaling, to hold oneself accountable and to engage in honest self-improvement. Journaling provides a structured way to analyze our behavior. Often we go through life reacting impulsively, unaware of our own patterns and weaknesses. By writing down our thoughts and reviewing our actions, we bring unconscious behaviors into awareness. For example, if you find yourself repeatedly losing patience or making poor decisions, journaling helps you identify triggers and develop strategies to improve. It forces you to confront yourself in an unfiltered way, which is essential for growth. A powerful approach to Stoic journaling is to divide it into 3 sections: morning reflection, midday adjustment, and evening review. In the morning, set intentions for the day. Ask yourself, what virtues will I practice today? How will I respond to challenges? Writing down a plan for how you will act helps set the right mindset before the day begins. Midway through the day, take a brief moment to assess how you are doing. Have you remained patient, disciplined, and focused? If not, what adjustments can you make to improve the rest of the day? Even a short note at this point can help realign you with your goals. In the evening, conduct a full review. Amor, Fati, a Latin phrase meaning love of fate, is one of the most powerful Stoic principles for developing an unbreakable mindset. It is the practice of not only accepting what happens to us, but embracing it as necessary and even beneficial. Instead of resisting reality or wishing things were different, the Stoic approach is to see everything, good or bad, as fuel for growth. Life does not always unfold as we expect, but by learning to love our fate, we free ourselves from frustration, regret, and despair. Friedrich Nietzsche, a philosopher influenced by Stoicism, described Amor Fati as the idea that we should desire nothing to be different, not in the past, not in the future, not for all eternity. This mindset eliminates resistance to what is and replaces it with a deep acceptance that transforms every experience into an opportunity. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, echoed this in Meditations when he wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." The Stoic does not merely endure challenges, he uses them as fuel to become stronger. This principle is essential because life is unpredictable. No one is immune to hardship. We will face setbacks, losses, and circumstances beyond our control. Most people respond to these difficulties with frustration, self-pity, or resistance. They ask, "Why me?" They waste energy wishing things were different, but this resistance only deepens suffering. The Stoic approach, however, is different. When faced with adversity, instead of asking, "Why me?" they ask, "How can this serve me?" This shift in perspective is life-changing. Consider the story of Thomas Edison, whose laboratory burned to the ground in a massive fire, destroying years of hard work. Instead of lamenting the loss, he famously told his son, "Go get your mother and all her friends. They'll never see a fire like this again." Rather than despairing, he saw the destruction as a new beginning. This is Amor Fati in action. Instead of resisting fate, he embraced it, making way for innovation and progress. Applying Amor Fati in daily life requires a change in how we perceive events. When something goes wrong, a failed relationship, a missed opportunity, an unexpected challenge, our instinct is to view it as purely negative. But what if we chose to see it differently? What if every difficulty contained a hidden lesson or an opportunity for growth? The loss of a job might force us to pursue a new path we never considered. A personal setback might strengthen our character and resilience. Even the most painful experiences, such as losing a loved one, can deepen our appreciation for life and the time we have with those who remain. The practice of Amor Fati also eliminates fear. Many people live in constant anxiety, afraid of what might go wrong. But when we train ourselves to see everything as necessary and beneficial, fear loses its grip on us. If we believe that whatever happens is ultimately for our growth, we stop dreading the future. We stop trying to control what is uncontrollable and instead focus on responding to life's events with wisdom and strength. One practical way to cultivate Amor Fati is through daily reflection. At the end of each day, ask yourself, what challenges did I face today? and how can I see them as opportunities? Instead of labeling events as good or bad, train your mind to see them as part of the necessary process of life. Another method is to study history and biographies of great individuals who turned adversity into triumph. The strongest people in history, from Marcus Aurelius to Nelson Mandela, did not avoid hardship. They embraced it and grew stronger because of it. Loving fate does not mean passive acceptance or giving up on improvement. It means fully engaging with life as it is, rather than as we wish it to be. It means choosing to see every event, no matter how difficult, as something that can serve us. By practicing Amor, Fati, we become unbreakable. No failure, no loss, no hardship can destroy us, because we see everything as part of our path. Life is not happening to us, it is happening for us. And when we embrace that truth, we find freedom.